Guys, it's Jade from Boho Bookworm. I have purple silver shampoo and conditioner currently in my hair. Anyone with bleach blonde hair will understand the struggle I go through to get the copper and yellow tones out. I'm busy using a product called Davines, which looks rather scary. So you put this in your hair and you've got to leave it in for a couple of minutes. So while I got some time before work, I thought I would do my April wrap-up. I actually read quite a large number of books in April, so I'm actually going to be splitting this up into two videos. Today I will be speaking about 4 of the books that I read. Amazingly, 3 of them were 5-star reads for me and 1 was a 4-star read. So the first half of April I had a really good reading month. The first book I finished in April was The Book of Joy. This is a collaboration between 2 illustrious spiritual leaders, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. It's their dialogue discussing lasting happiness in a changing world. It's set in Dharamsala, where the Archbishop travelled for the Dalai Lama's 80th birthday. This book's really eye-opening and it helps you to realise how you can be happy, grateful and joyful in a world that is riddled in pain, suffering and grief. This book's genre is self-help, philosophy, non-fiction, spiritual and religion. But this book's got something different, something more than other books in its genre. It is knowledgeable and it is thought-provoking, but it's also really light and humorous, right where it needs to be. There's a quote that really stood out to me in the book and I'm going to read it to you. Forgiveness is the only way to heal ourselves and to be free from the past. Without forgiveness, we remain tethered to the person who harmed us. We are bound to the chains of bitterness, tied together, trapped. Until we can forgive the person who has harmed us, that person will hold the keys to our happiness. That person will be our jailer. When we forgive, we take back control of our own fate and feelings. We become our own liberator. I loved that, and this book really helped me change my mindset because recently I was really hurt by someone, and this book gave me the strength and the courage to be able to forgive, not forget, but forgive someone that really did me wrong. And that is something that makes this book really, really special to me. Also, this book is just, it's wonderful. If you're not too familiar with the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu, it really helps you to connect with them on a different level. They're not just these serious spiritual leaders, they're actually such gems of people. They are so funny and happy. Right at the end of the book, there are a whole bunch of meditation practices which are amazing and you should really try and implement them into your life. I gave it a 5-star review on Goodreads. The next book I read in April was Big Little Lies by Liane Moriarty. The plot and the format of this book was so creatively done. I loved how at the beginning or end of almost every chapter we had interviews with the sideline characters about the murder that's happened. So at the beginning of the book you know someone's been murdered but you have no idea who the victim was or who the murderer is, and you're trying to figure it out as the book goes along. This book is so riveting and dark. It's about a bunch of kindergarten mums and the scandal in their lives. I'd originally thought that this book was going to be a thriller, and while it's not scary, it did have a certain scariness of the reality in the world. This book is so much more than a typical thriller. Each character has instability in their life and a situation that could happen to each and every one of us. It's a murder mystery and it really keeps you guessing. Liane Moriarty's writing was so descriptive and brilliant. It does cover some very serious topics such as domestic violence, rape, bullying, and the effects of social media. It really makes you realise how sickening our online lives can be and how fake they are. This book also had a really important quote that I want to share. She wanted to let him know that at least one person here today understood all the mistakes that he'd made along the way, the times he hit back, the times he stayed when he should have left, the times he gave her another chance, the times he deliberately antagonized her, the times he let his children see things that they shouldn't see. She wanted to tell him she knew all the perfect little lies he'd told himself for all those years because she told herself the same lies. As someone that just got out of a relationship that was very physically abusive and mentally abusive, that really stood out to me. And if you haven't been in a relationship that was that way, you won't understand. And I think that it really did a good job of trying to get people to understand. I absolutely loved it and I gave it a 5-star review. The next 2 books I'm going to be speaking about are audiobooks, and the first one is Confess by Colleen Hoover, which I gave a 4-star review. I listen to audiobooks on my way to work in the morning and on the way back because it's about an hour's commute into the city each day. In Confess, our main character is Auburn Reed, and we basically follow her life, and she's walking on eggshells because she doesn't want to make any mistakes in her life whatsoever. Life takes Auburn to Dallas, and she gets a job for an artist in his art studio, and even though she's trying not to make any mistakes in her life, accepting that job offer could be the biggest mistake of her life. It's really hard to say too much about this book without giving away spoilers, so I'm going to be very vague. Basically, I really did enjoy this book. I love Colleen Hoover's books in general. I do wish that she had been more descriptive about the art and done more with the art world in this book, because I mean, I work in one of the best art galleries in South Africa. I would have adored to be able to like almost breathe in the paint fumes and feel the textures of the art on the canvas. Just, I think that she could have played more with the art world in this book. Colleen Hoover has an absolutely fantastic way of breaking your heart as you read one of her books, and again, this book annihilated me. It crushed me. Her books are brutal and they will shake you to your core. This one in specific is about love and loss, sexual assault, drugs and fate. And the last book that I listened to on Audible is Holy Cow by David Duchovny. Holy Cow, a modern day Dairytale. David Duchovny is from The X-Files, or some of you may actually know him from Californication. I adore him. He's my biggest man crush in the world, and he wrote a book and it is bloody fantastic. 5-star review from me. It's this bizarre tale of this American cow who sneaks out of her pasture to go and flirt with the bulls and ends up finding out what happens to cows one day. Basically, they get eaten. And so she decides that she's going to run away to find a better life for herself and a safer life in India where cows are worshipped. She embarks on this really funny journey to get to India, and she's accompanied by 2 very unlikely companions, a pig called Shalom, who's recently converted to Judaism, and Tom the turkey who can't fly. This is an eminently comical book filled with wisecracks and wit, and it still surprisingly delivers some really important messages. It's a really good reminder that animals are not the mindless beasts that we sometimes seem to think that they are. Going into this book, you really need to leave your sense of reality behind, but if you can do that, this book is brilliant. Just, it's so funny, and it has so many important messages. One of the things that our main character, Elsie the cow, basically says is that humans don't deserve the privilege of being called an animal, and she says that, you know, she as a cow thanks every blade of grass that she eats, and we don't do that. And I just think that it's so beautiful, and it just gives so many fantastic points. My favourite quote from this book was, "So I guess it's not so important that dreams come true. It's just important that you have a dream to begin with, to get to take your first steps." I love it. Just 5 stars. Amazing. I listened to it on Audible and I absolutely love David Duchovny's narration of it, and I think that David Duchovny should narrate absolutely every Audible book that there is. Anyway, they are the books that I read throughout the first half of April. Let me know if you've read any of them down below, or if I have inspired you to pick one up. I will get back to you soon with part 2. Adios!